What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Stars and Garters. I'm Katie Pettit. Happy early 4th of July in 2 days, I think, because, pre-recording. But, as of when it is published, I think this is 2 days before 4th of July, so God bless America. Go do America things. Shoot some fireworks inside, outside, wherever you want to do that, as long as you're prepared to deal with consequences. Do whatever you want. Wear something red, white, and blue. Freedom and all that good stuff. But, I kind of wanted to try to do a 4th of July themed top 10, but, couldn't really think of one. But, America. So, I'm still good on that. I don't like the 4th of July, just not brain enough. But I do have a top 10 for you today. It's a little, I've still only done those 2 Harry Potter episodes with Annie, which is a shame, because I do love Harry Potter. So, I thought I would do a Harry Potter themed top 10. And it's, I feel like this might not be the first idea you would think that anyone would do, for a Harry Potter themed top 10, but nonetheless, I am doing it, because today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 Harry Potter spells. So yeah, basically it's just, either the spells are really cool, or they're actually, kind of really useful, or the way they were used in the series was good, really whatever criteria I wanted here. Which is kind of always how it works, because, what with it being my podcast and all. So let's jump right into it. At number 10, I'm a bad person, but I just really like, it's a fascinating spell, okay? And it's just, okay. So number 10, I have the Imperious Curse, the mind controlling spell, which is illegal, but, honestly, it's just kind of cool, you can just say, one little word, and then have someone do whatever you want them to, and you wonder, how long does it last, can you do it on multiple people at once, but, no matter what, it's just, you have a little puppet, and you can just do a spell, and you get this little puppet, so that's, it's kind of cool, you know, it wasn't used, that much at all in the series, and I kind of wish it was used more, even by the bad guys, because it's very interesting, how could you possibly break free of the Imperious Curse? Can it last however long they want? Is there a time limit? Obviously it doesn't only work on people, it works on animals. Could you, make an army of animals and, have them attack people? That's interesting, because he did it on that spider. Could you have an army of spiders? That's Ron's out right there. So, just it's so fascinating, Think of all the possibilities. Not that I would do anything with it. I'm just saying, it's there's a lot, there's a lot that could be explored here. Not that I would ever explore it if I could, if I was a wizard, but you know, it would be interesting to see be explored and not actually do, because that's wrong and it's illegal. So I obviously wouldn't do that to anybody ever. But still, it's very fascinating, and I want to know more. I want to see more of it happening. Okay, moving on. A little bit more, little bit less condemning of a spell to have on my list. But at number 9, I put the Protego spell. And I know this one kind of seems boring, but I just think it has a ridiculous amount of usefulness that is weird that people are just using it all the time, especially in duels and when they're getting attacked situations, just kind of always immediately saying Protego. Because it's the shield spell, so I don't know how big it's spawns or whatever. I don't know how much it would be protecting, but even if it was just a little bit, you could at least like learn how to aim it, and then it would be super useful. Like, I mean, and again, it's like how strong, like, can a spell break a Protego? Like, is it invincible? Does it deflect the spell? Do they just disappear? Like, I don't know, because nobody ever used it. Like, it's just you have this spell that would have been so useful in so many situations and probably could have fixed a lot of problems, maybe even some deaths, if people had just thought, hey, Protego, we're good for a second. Like, maybe it's temporary, but, like, it seems like it would be incredibly convenient in many situations, especially the situations that the Harry Potter crew gets into. So, my question is, why didn't they use it more? But honestly, it's very, like, practically useful. It's like if you're in this like really dangerous world where people are known to get attacked, and you have a spell that blocks attacks, then just, no matter, like, if you think you're being attacked, just go ahead and set one up real quick. you know, it's just they. I feel like they should have used it a lot more. It seems very useful, but uh, yeah, that's my thought. Because when, like, even on the Hogwarts house test, like, it asks you, someone fires an unknown spell at you, what do you cast? And I'm like, the one that blocks spells, because if I don't know what it is, like, most likely it's gonna be something bad, so, like, boom, don't even have to worry about it. So, just, yeah, Protego, it sounds boring, because it's just a shield, but it's like so useful, which is weird because they hardly did never use it. Sorry, there's a cat right there, and she looked like she wanted to be pet. With that said, moving on. The next one at number 8, we have the infamous Swish and Flick spell. We have Wingardium Leviosa. Now, this one is on the list partially just because of how, like, recognizable. It's kind of one of the more iconic ones, and because of it's Leviosa, not Leviosa. That's a great line. But also, this one is a lot different from the other two because it's more for just its like coolness. It's probably not that useful, tbh, but like just making stuff float, that would be really cool. And it's another one that's like fascinating. Can you make yourself float or somebody else? In Lego Harry Potter, you could make other people float, not yourself, because I don't think they would figure out how to do that with the mechanics yet, but maybe they will one day. But how far does that go? If you can make other people float, like if that's like canon, that would be great. That would be super fun, I would probably get like really annoying if that was a possibility, because I would just be making everybody float. I would probably make my cats float a lot too, because that would just be funny. That would, I mean, they're great and I love them, but that would be hilarious, and I would definitely do that to them. But yeah, making things float is fun and it's cool, and it makes sense that that's like the first spell that they learn, because it's not the most useful one. It's not the most like practical one. It doesn't really honestly do much to help in any way, but it's like magic. It's like, this is what magic is. Like, welcome to magic. You can make stuff do weird stuff. And that's like, these kids are just learning that, and so that's what magic is. So Wingardium Leviosa just seems like a magic spell. And like, with if like a stage magician made something float, that would be like super cool, and you wouldn't know how they did it. It seems kind of boring in the wizarding world, but like from a non magic perspective, not that there are magic perspectives, but I'm just saying, from like, without that, it seems really cool. Without it existing, the thought of it existing is pretty cool. So yeah, Wingardium Leviosa. Alright, at number 7, I think I have one that most of you wouldn't think of, if you're into Harry Potter, if you aren't, you probably have had no idea what I'm talking about for a minute now. So thank you for still watching for some reason. I don't care what your reason is. Thanks. But this is not like one of the more used spells. It's not one of the more popular. It's not famous. It's not super dramatic or anything. It's not flashy. I don't even think it has a bright color that comes out when it is done. But I just think it's like even more on the scale of ridiculously useful. Like especially just like in the normal world, it seems like yes, I definitely want that, please. Because in number 7, I have put Alohomora, which is the spell that is supposed to unlock any door. Obviously, in knowing, like in the wizard world, they put protections on doors that they don't want to be unlocked. But, like, think of it if you're, like, just in everyday life. Like, if you forget your keys, you never have to worry about it. Just unlocking every door. Like, if you want to get in somewhere, you don't even have to check if it's locked. So you just, boom, open. It's like ridiculously practical. You wouldn't even have to worry about keys. You would just like, boom, open. Everything is open. I don't know if it like works on smaller doors. I assume it does, but if a door gets stuck, boom, open. And there are a lot of doors in the world, so I feel like you could be using this spell all the time. They don't like in the series, which is weird. Because I mean, I guess most of the time they're trying to get in places that would have protections against that, but still, like it's just ridiculously practical. Like a spell that opens doors. That sounds so boring, but like there are a lot of doors in everywhere. All the places have doors, so I think it would be pretty useful. I was just like, when I was thinking about this, I was like, dang, you would have to like you would not have to think about so much if you could just open the door with a word. It's just like it's incredibly useful spell, which again, because they're wizards and they don't like think about a lot of things being super useful because they just are that way. They don't use it that much, which is unfortunate. But I would be using it like all the time. I would probably be using it even when I didn't need to, because it like kind of opens them. I would probably like using it on unlocked doors and stuff because it's fun. But I mean, I'm just saying it's like ridiculously practical. Like for the world that's like crazy, like full of ridiculous magic, it's just so like useful. It's not flashy at all, but it's a very common thing that everyone does every day and causes lots of problems sometimes, and it's like no problem at all. So just thinking of the practical application, that one is just it makes so much sense. Um, but I'm sure it's boring if you are a wizard. So, but still, it's my list, and I think it's really cool. Like not cool. Cool's not the word. It's just really it's it's a good spell. It's a good spell to have around. All right, next one. I don't really have anything to say about it. It's bringing up the middle, so it's still one of the top 10. Just there's not like any what's the word? There's nothing to say before. There's no like pre-announcement speech. But number 6, I put Accio. So that's the spell where you say Accio, whatever you want, and that comes to you. And it's shown to work over like really, really, really long distances. And again, that is both cool and practical because like it's way more fun to have something come flying at you from out of nowhere than it is to go like get up and look for that. So it looks cool and it's fun, but it's also again very useful because you don't have to look for things. Like I lose things a lot, so that would be useful. You just say what you need and it comes right to you. And like especially in dangerous situations, which you do use this uh, spell more in the books because they are in dangerous situations a lot, and it's much more practical. Like if you needed something like right now, if you need it immediately, the spell just brings it right to you. And it does have to fly to you, so there's a little time if it's like halfway across the world. I don't know how far away it worked. It worked like it worked in a different country or whatever. It was just kind of like a few minutes away, maybe 20, 30 minutes away. And it worked from there. Well, actually, probably less than that because it came there pretty fast. But maybe it was just traveling really fast. I don't know. But it works from a pretty good distance, but like probably not halfway across the world. So there's like some travel time, but it will come to you. But it's like it's really practical, and it's just like if you even like dropped something, if you were in the middle of a fight and you like dropped, if somebody else dropped their wand, I don't know. You could just. I'm just saying, like it's if you needed something quickly, it would be right there, and it would look really cool because it would kind of look like you're like summoning it, so it would look cool too. Sorry. So kind of, it's like bringing up the middle because it's not the most cool, it's not the most practical, it's not the most fun, but it is all of those things. So it's bringing up the middle at number 6, but it's still a great spell. It made the list. All right. Again, I promise I'm not a terrible person. Just this spell is kind of crazy. Um, and it's kind of, I'm not gonna say cool because I'm not a bad person, I promise you. But I did put at number 5, I did put Avada Kedavra, which is the killing spell, if you didn't know. So just hear me out. If just hear me out, okay? Like, not that I would ever use it, not that I condone using it. Bad. Killing, bad. Don't do that. That's wrong. But if you were, say, going to kill someone, or like if a good guy was killing a bad guy, then it would be okay, kind of, in some situations, self defense. Going back to saver territory. Actually, this whole number is not safe territory because I just said the killing spell was one of my favorites. But hear me out. Like if you needed to kill somebody, like there's no cooler, flashier. There's no better way to do it. A gun would get the job done quick, but it'd be real messy and it'd be blah. Um, and there's like more aiming to do. You could do like a sword, but that might not. You might not. It's a little might be hard to hit because you have to get all up close and stuff. Uh, there's other weapons, but just like those, they're okay. They would get the job done. But this one, there's no mess. You can do it from however far away you want, and it looks cool. It's green and flashy and looks like a big old lightning bolt. And it's relatively quick as well. Relatively quick. I don't know how painful it is. But it's pretty quick, and it's just over. And there's no fuss. Just a real flashy spark of green light, and then it's done. And I think that's nice, not nice. I think that's good. I like that. That's what I'm trying to say. So, if you did need to kill someone, which usually don't do that, but like if you had to, if like a good guy was doing it, then it would be okay. In some cases. And if they wanted to kill someone, like that would be the coolest way to do it. Uh, like, yeah, wizards have the coolest way of killing people. Nobody else does it quite like that. Alright, moving back into I am not a bad person territory. We have Harry Potter's favorite spell / only spell he ever freaking uses. Because number 4, we have Expelliarmus, which it took me about 5 years to learn how to pronounce that, because every character in the movie says it differently. But so, obviously, the fact that, again, Harry basically only uses this spell, like, once he learned it, that was good enough for him. He was like, alright, so I can use this every time. So, Yeah. Uh, that played in a lot because we get to see this spell a heck of a lot more than any other spell in the series. But again, if it's very useful in a dangerous situation, which they are often in, because all of these cool spells that they could do, and all of these cool and useful spells, like they need the wand to do that. Most of them do. I only think there's like I never even saw anyone cast a silent spells or a non-wand spell, but uh, and you could just get rid of that wand, and then they would be pretty much helpless, and then you could do basically whatever you want. Not kill, hopefully, but I mean, you could. It takes away a lot of their options and gives you quite a few more. So yeah, it's very useful as well, and it does also look cool. I don't know why it's like that. It doesn't seem like it should be that flashy, but it is because it's a big old red lightning bolt. Um, I guess to let them know that you're about to knock their wand out of their hands. So not smart, but it looks really cool. I mean, at least in the movies it did. I don't know if that's the way it was intended to, but that is the way it turned out. And yeah. So it's just it works very well, It's a good spell to have around, and the fact that it looks pretty doesn't hurt. And it is somehow how Harry killed Voldemort in the end. Maybe you should reread to remember how that works. I don't know if it was explained, but I don't really remember how that killed him, but it did. So it must be a pretty powerful spell in the right hands. I guess the potency depends on the wizard, and I guess if you are potent enough, it can. I don't know. I can't remember how that worked. I'll go check up on that. But still, it is a very useful spell and can be incredibly powerful in the right hands, and looks cool. All right, moving on up to the podium. This spell is like almost purely for coolness factor because um, it's not. I mean, it is used quite a bit in the series, but it's not the most like common need. You don't really need to use that spell that much, and they probably in the series used it a lot more than it would usually be needed in the Wizarding world. But it's really cool, and it looks really cool, and the idea of it is all cool. At number 3, I have Expecto Patronum. So the Patronus spell, if you don't know what it is, it's a little bit more complicated. So there are these things, there's these little creature doodads. They look like floating gray stuff with bony hands, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Called Dementors, and they suck out all your happiness and eventually your soul. And the only thing that can make them go away is a Patronus, and that's what this spell makes. And the Patronus is like a big, real shiny, like bluish, whitish animal that is a spell, and it scares it away. Um, so yeah, this is just like they shouldn't have had to use this as much as they did. I feel like the Dementors are probably not usually as around as they are in the series. Hopefully not, because that seems like a problem. I mean, it is a problem, but I don't care how useful it is. It's just like it's one of the most fun and cool of the spells. The way you do it makes sense. Like you have to think of a really happy memory, and the harder, or the better you do with that part, the stronger the spell will be. But like just the animal part of it is cool, and it looks really cool. Like the Patronus just looks cool. It's a bright, shiny animal that goes and attacks the bad thing. Uh, well, one specific bad thing, but still, like, and every single Patronus like means something to the person, and they're used for a big part of like story stuff. Snape's Patronus is the same as Lily's. Harry's is the same as his dad's. It's all connected, and it's cool to think about like what Patronus you might have. My current Potter, what is it called? I think it's called wizardingworld.com now, but my current Patronus on that is a cat, but I cheated and I looked up how do you get a cat Patronus because I took it a few other times before and I got a monkey and some sort of bird, I think, and I didn't like those. And I wanted it to be a cat, so I cheated. I haven't taken another test because I wanna I'd rather decide for myself and not get a monkey again. Uh, but honestly, I wasn't that upset about the monkey. It was kind of cool looking. Anyway, just having this like animal thing that is so supposedly represents you in some way is a really cool idea. And then it looks real cool. It's like a very nice visual thing. It's a nice picture. And I bet it feels really cool to cast it. And like, you know, I wonder like obviously you can kind of interact with them, so that must be kind of cool. Maybe a little weird, but still cool. I like that Hermione's Patronus is an otter. I don't know if otters are smart, but I assume they are because I don't know. I just assumed they would have a smart animal for her, but it looks really cool. She had a little otter floating around her, and that was real fun. Um, but yeah, purely on just really cool and like, yay, magic! Magic can do cool things. Expecto Patronum is like probably the best example of that in Harry Potter. Um, oh dang it! I forgot I had so many of these that I was gonna have to explain away. But look, the darker ones are more fascinating. Because at number two, I have one of the experimental spells. It's not really supposed to be a thing, but our bestest friend, Mr. Snape, decided that it should be a thing because he was real salty when he was a kid. Um, and it was used once, and it did not go well. But mm, I was interested. I was intrigued. I'm gonna say I liked it. But anyway, at number two, I have put the Sectum Sempra spell. This is okay. So for you who don't know, basically this is the maiming spell. Don't. I'm not. I don't. I'm not saying maim people is good. Don't maim people. That's probably worse than killing them. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. But I'm just saying, when this spell, like, it's just so interesting. It was only used one time, and it was by a good guy. So I feel like there's a lot of questions I have, a lot of things that I would be interested to see. It's like you have, uh, Avada Kedavra is basically like the equivalent of a gun, so I guess Sectum Sempra is the equivalent of a sword. And, swords, while not as practical as guns, they are a little bit, like, cooler and flashier and more show-many, I guess. So, Second Semper's a little bit cooler. It's a cooler way to kill someone, and I assumed they would die eventually if they weren't fixed. Because Malfoy didn't die because he was the one who was used on, but he was fixed, and I feel like you would bleed out because there's a lot of cuts that happen. But it's just very intriguing. It's a really good, like, dark spell because it is really dark, and it's like, wizards can fight and pew pew and kill, and there doesn't have to be any mess. But if you were a salty wizard, if you were a real mean wizard, you didn't like you wanted some pain to be happening, then you have a spell as well, which maybe is not a good thing. But it's very intriguing, and I kind of wish it was used more. Like, what if somebody died from Sectum Sempra? I feel like that would be a way more interesting death as well. Because Avada Kedavra, it's just like, boom, you're dead. Which may be better for the dead person, but for, like, story-wise, it would be more interesting. And they would probably get to have a better death scene if they were, like, bleeding to death. Which, I'm not saying I like it when people bleed to death. It's just more interesting in books. in books. It's interesting for the story. I'm not a bad person. I like good stories, okay? That's what's happening here. But I just think that's just a cooler way to hurt someone. If you're a bad guy, because bad guys do that. If you're don't do that. Don't hurt people. Don't do it. It's not nice. If they are hurting you, it might be okay in some situations. And I shouldn't have said that, so I'm gonna stop talking. Alright, we're gonna just move on to number 1. I feel like I have a kinda not common, not popular, maybe a lot of people are not going to agree with me, number 1, but I have those a lot, and I'm okay with it. And I think this is just really great. It's like an attack spell. It's a fighting spell, but it's not super dark, and it's something that like you could use without being a terrible person. And you wouldn't have to go through hoops to say it's okay, because my number 1 spell is Stupefy, the knocking out spell, the unconsciousifying spell. So I guess this is the wizard equivalent of a really hard punch in the face, I guess. I don't know. But it's like if you shoot this at someone, it's supposed to knock them out. And I think that's cool. I like it when people get knocked out. It's fun. It's entertaining. And that's not abnormal. A lot of people say that, so I'm not a bad person again. But this is like, it's a very quick and practical way to do that. And it's cool, like the idea of Segnum Sempra and Avada Kedavra, but this is what the good guys can do, because it doesn't unalive anybody, because that's bad, but it does, get them out of your hair for a minute. And it looks cool, because they it doesn't have any pretty colors, but it does shoot them back, and they crash into something most likely, so that's fun. And they do use it plenty of times throughout the series. I would have liked to see it more, but they use it plenty. It was not underused, I don't think. But it's just really cool, and it's cool, but it's not dark. It doesn't have to be dark to be cool. It's just the one attack spell that doesn't make you a terrible person, because it's just boop, knocked out. I don't know if it hurts. It probably feels a little forceful from the way it looks. It's more like a shove type situation, but a really hard one, and then you're just knocked out. So it probably doesn't even hurt that much. So it's a very it's a clean, good guy way to win a fight, but it does make you look really cool and strong and good at stuff, even though you just kind of did that. But yeah, that's the knocking out spell. It's fun to me. I think that sounds like a fun time, and you can also do that with practice among friends, because that's not gonna hurt anyone. I love it when Hermione does it to Ron. I don't know if that happened in the books, but it definitely happened in the movies, and it's funny, and I like it. So yeah, that is my list. I am in trouble, but I made it, and that's my list. So deal with it. I'm not taking anything back. I think these spells are the coolest, or the most practical, or the most whatever. I think they're the best. This is my top 10. Okay. So that is it. Thank you for watching. Let's see. Comment. Okay, fine. Comment your favorite spell, and if you want to address whether or not I'm a terrible person, do what you think is right. But obviously I'm not, because I explained it all away very well, and nobody can get through any critics in there and say that I'm a bad person. So, yeah, that is it. I said that already, but do the share, the subscribe, the follow, the comment, The share is important. Once again, do that for sure. And I will see you guys next time.